All right, all right, all right. Good morning. Welcome to this episode of Cafecito con Colon. It is exactly 9 o'clock. We'll give a few folks time to jump on with us. We have some amazing guests with us today. It is going to be a beautiful episode of Cafecito con Colon. I'm thrilled and honored to have three distinguished New Mexicans, three wonderful Hispano leaders in the public sector who are all about living lives of service and gratitude, and they have done it with distinction their entire lives. Before they had fancy titles, they were already servant leaders, and now they've got positions of distinction and opportunity to lift up New Mexico. So for me, in conjunction with Enlace New Mexico and the New Mexico Hispanic Heritage Committee, they schedule our guests on Fridays, and they really brought me a trifecta of awesomeness today. This trio really makes a difference every day. They are the pride of Northern New Mexico for so many New Mexicans. I'm thrilled to have with us today. Good morning, Senator Leo the Lion Jaramillo.
Muy buenos dias, my friend. Thank you so much for having us. How are you?
I am terrific. I am terrific. It is a beautiful day. You look great. Senator Leo Jaramillo of District Number 5. And in case you forget, you just check out his beautiful virtual background there. He keep reminding us there. And I'm going to ask my friends out there that are tuned in already to please share this video. Like I was telling you last week, Facebook has changed everything. So our algorithms and the robust nature of our early cafecitos, it has taken a hit, because when I go live from Facebook, it defaults to friends only, and then I have to manually push it to public, and that has really kind of put a little damper on our viewership. So please, if you believe in this opportunity to lift up New Mexico, please spread the word, because you are going to be in for a huge treat this morning on today's episode of Cafecito con Colon with the Enlace New Mexico and the New Mexico Hispanic Heritage Committee. We want to give a shout out to those folks that volunteer for those groups and its leaders, Irma Ruiz and Dr. Jennifer Gomez Chavez. And that actually, let me give you a quick announcement. This just happened last week, folks. This is the first time I think you're going to see it on social media. But we had our election of the brand new members of the New Mexico Hispanic Heritage Committee. We got about 50 members who have signed up. They held elections. We had beautiful people step up to say they're ready to lead. And we've elected new leadership. And I'll just say that it's an honor and privilege to have had great candidates running for chair of the New Mexico Hispanic Heritage Committee. And our new chair, who's got some huge zapatos to fill, because they're following Irma Ruiz and Dr. Jennifer Gomez Chavez. But our new leader for the Hispanic Heritage Committee here in New Mexico is going to be Don Orlando Versace Mariachi Marquez. So, Mr. Marquez, you heard it here, heard it here first on Cafecito con Colon, because I'm pretty sure I don't think I've seen a social media post about that. But Orlando's leading, and then we've got some other great folks that were elected to the board. Maybe on another Cafecito, we'll have the entire new leadership team, the executive committee at least. But it's got a great board of 13 leaders. Folks can still sign up if you want to sign up to be a member. I know that we've got with us Jonathan Muniz is tuned in this morning, and I know that he is a founding member of the newly structured New Mexico Hispanic Heritage Committee. He's also a great leader of the Floricanto chapter of the LULAC. And I know that I'm very proud to be a member under his leadership as well. So,
well, congratulations to all of them, and I'm happy to see that you're now doing breaking news, my friend.
That's right, breaking news right here on
so, Orlando, if we could, we'd be singing you a mariachi song, but I think I'd probably shatter your computer screens or your laptop screens. but just take it that all of us are wishing you well, and congratulations to you and your team.
Well said. Thank you, Representative, and thank you, Senator. Let me just say, so Orlando is the chair. The vice chair is Elisa Castillo, another great leader here in New Mexico. She is an energetic leader. Let me just say, people think I've got high energy. Elisa's right there with me. She's a leader at the University of New Mexico, our flagship institution in education right here in central New Mexico. On the secretary's side, we've got Susan Aguayo. And then our treasurer, thankfully, Linda Benavides, who is going to do an amazing job as treasurer. And then we've got lots of board members like Rafa Arianes, Jonathan Muniz, Javier Trujillo, Beatriz Valencia. Who else do we have? Idalia Lechuga Tena. And I think that rounds out our board right there. I think I mentioned everybody that got elected to board And then, of course, we got about 50 or 60 members of our New Mexico Hispanic Heritage Committee. So there's your breaking news, the board in its glory, and I can't wait to support the leadership of those great New Mexicans who stepped up and said, yes, we'll serve. So thank you for that. So that's Senator Jaramillo. We're going to do some great introductions here. I'm not going to do a bunch of links today because I just did all that stuff about the New Mexico Hispanic Heritage Committee. But let me also welcome the Honorable Rogelio. You know, my grandfather's name was Rogelio, and not too many New Mexicans use that name. Even in the north, you don't meet too many Rogelios. But in Puerto Rico, Rogelio is a very common name. It was the name of my grandfather. My father's name was Rafael, and my son's name is Rafael. But Rafael was after the R in Rogelio. And again, that was my grandfather. And so it's a real pleasure to have the Honorable Roger Montoya with us, del Norte, the Honorable Representative. Thank you for joining me, Representative Montoya.
Thank you so much. It's just a beautiful honor. And I do love the name Rogelio. My mother and father are not with me anymore, but they use that name very endearingly. And I sign my paintings, Rogelio Montoya. So thank you for noticing that. It's a good name.
Absolutely. It's a very strong name, and you wear it well, my friend.
Muchas gracias.
De nada. Let me just also welcome to Cafecito con Colón. We have the Honorable Danny Bernal Jr., one of our youngest elected officials leading in the state of New Mexico. They're leading in my home county, Condado de Valencia. They're in the hub city, Belén. Vamos todos a Belén, like the Christmas song. For those of you that follow Christmas songs, but we vamos todos a Belén, and he has really lifted up Belén. He's got a great campaign. He and his colleagues and friends put together a Believe in Belén campaign, and it's just beautiful.
Now here's a fun fact. So I was actually a school teacher in Belen. So thank you for serving such a beautiful community. The people are beautiful. The culture is amazing. And so thank you for that. I believe in Belen, and I'm sure that so many other people will as well.
Thank you, Senator. Senator is going to bring us a lot of fun facts. Senator is like the master of fun facts. And I know he's got a few up his sleeve, and we're going to share those today. But Danny, thank you for your leadership. You've been doing a great job on council down there. And we appreciate you pouring into New Mexico.
Yes.
And one of the counties that's closest to my heart, of course, the county where I was raised, it made me the man I am today. So we want to also say welcome to Catherine, and my sister Cheryl is tuned in this morning. Cheryl, I was at the vigil last night. I was thinking of you, and thank you for being a beautiful leader in the LGBTQIA+ community. We're grateful for the love you've given me for a lifetime, and you know I love you very much. And thanks for being here this morning, Dr. Gomez Chavez. Selena Sierra never misses. We've had Cafecito con Colón for almost 15 months and hundreds of episodes, and Selena always tunes in every time we have an episode. We're down to 1 or 2 a week because the schedule is just robust and enriched, so we can't do this every day. But some Fridays and most Sábado Gigantes when I'm not on the road. Tomorrow, we'll have another great episode featuring EQ&M, which I've had now on all the broadcast stations when they do my interviews. This is my backdrop because it's my house, it's my home office, and I've had people call me and say, "Man, you sure fly that EQ&M flag when you do those TV interviews about fighting waste, fraud, and abuse as the state auditor." And I said, "Well, this is the space I work and live in, and so EQ&M is front and center for me, and I appreciate that." And we're gonna host Mr. Martinez, its executive director, mañana en la mañana a las 9 por Sábado Gigante. And so we'll look forward to having him tomorrow. So let me also say that there is a young man on today's episode, Andrew Montoya. Great to see you. Sonny, I love you very much. Thank you for always being with me. Dawn, good to see you this morning. That's a nice surprise. Dr. Lang, glad you're here. Cristina Chavarria del Norte. She's ready to put together my little troca for the Pride. If they're not doing a parade, they're doing like a Pride drive around or something. And so Christina and her familia is going to help me with that. Orlando is tuned in this morning, so he got to hear me fawn all over him. And then, so there you go. Let's focus. Let me tell you about the third in this trifecta of awesomeness that joined me this morning on Cafecito con Colón as we lift up New Mexico in honor of Pride Month. Thanks to Enlace New Mexico and the New Mexico Hispanic Heritage Committee for scheduling also with us, Don Patricio Duran. So Patrick and I have we have watched each other be enriched and flourish and engage and really kind of become young men. Now we're just not the young part, we're just men in what is known as New Mexico's service landscape, also known as the political landscape, the nonprofit landscape, the social profit landscape, the public policy landscape. I have often looked to Patrick for guidance, and he's always been there front and center. He is a quiet force of nature. He may not be the one leaning in the loudest in a meeting, but when he talks, we listen. And I've always appreciated his guidance and perspective and his servant's heart. Patrick Duran, and now he's at the labs making a difference every day. I'm so glad you're on Cafecito con Colon. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me, sir. I'm very happy to be here. I'm honored to be amongst great company. You know, I feel like the odd man out, not being the only non-elected person, but I know I'm in great company and happy to be here with my Northern New Mexico brothers. So it's an exciting morning. Thank you.
You betcha. So, gentlemen, what I think I should do is I'll go in, I'm not going to do a bunch of links today. It's 9/11 right now, and I want to maximize the opportunity we have for engagement. So, folks, there's lots of exciting news going on, but I'm not going to share it with you. You got to go find it on your own today. But because we're going to focus on these three gentlemen. And I think what I'll do is I'm going to go through some bios here, and I mean, there's so much stuff about all three of you out there. So this is just a snapshot of some of the things that I think are great. And then I'm going to go to each of you and ask you to tell me one thing that I didn't include in your bio that you'd like the world to know. How's that? Great. And then we'll start a fun conversation about Pride Month and about your personal journeys and what that looks like and what does it mean to be part of our federal delegation in constituent services and public policy, and then go into the labs, one of the most important economic engines of our state. And then what it's like from being just an incredible leader in the business sector or the philanthropy sector, where you're changing kids' lives through movement, and then to become elected officials. I mean, the lenses that these gentlemen look through are so instructive of how we can all grow in our service journey. And I think that's what I really want to focus on this morning, because these men provide an opportunity for the next generation to actually look up and see a reflection of themselves and who they can be. And a lot of young men and a lot of young women haven't been able to look up and see a reflection of themselves for a really long time, but that's changing in New Mexico, and these three men are part of that. So let me start with Senator Leo Jaramillo. He was elected in November 2020, and he represents New Mexico Senate District 5, which includes Los Alamos, Rio Arriba, Sandoval, and Santa Fe County. Senator Jaramillo serves as the Vice Chairman of the Indian and Cultural Affairs Committee and serves as a member of the Corporations and Transportation Committee in the upper chamber of the New Mexico Senate. He's a native son of the Española Valley there in Condado de Rio Arriba, and he's a proud alumnus of Española Valley High School. And his girls at Española used to beat up on my girls in Los Lunas on the basketball court every single time. I don't know if that's still true, but when I was growing up, those Española ladies, they came down and they showed us how to play ball. His passion for advocating for his community led him to become an elected position in Rio Arriba County on the commission, where he served with distinction and as chairman prior to being elevated to the New Mexico State Senate. He is a champion for Northern New Mexico's children, seniors, farmers, ranchers, and individuals who are suffering from drug and alcohol addiction on and off the Senate floor. He is always an advocate. 365 days a year, you can find him out there leading the way. He's got a bachelor's degree in mass communication and journalism from the University of New Mexico, which could make me very uncomfortable this morning because he's an expert in all that is reaching out in social media and communicating, but I'm just trying to do my best. This is little mocosito from Valencia County trying to make a difference. He's also got a master's degree in curriculum design and instructional leadership from the very distinguished College of Santa Fe. And he's a former educator, also educating us young ones down in Valencia County, a news writer, producer, and financial business analyst. He's currently the staff operations manager for the Associate Laboratory Director of Facilities and Operations at Los Alamos National Laboratory. He's got the best lighting in the house, and we're pleased to have Senator Leo the Lion Jaramillo.
Oh, muchísimas gracias, my friend. Thank you so much for having me today. Now, did you want a fun fact? Here's the fun fact. In 2013, I was named a legend in cheer and dance. How do you like that? So for the number of state titles won and the number of students that I was able to reach, so that's my fun fact.
Well, you're a champion in cheer and dance, and what's fun is I think Patrick's got a little connection with that, and most people that are regulars on Cafecito con Colon know that my son cheered at George Washington. He was on the GW cheer team. He was Rafael Colon, the Colonial, and was loved doing the pyramids and the setups. And he just, in fact, I think his social media, his profile picture has him as a cheerleader from GW. So
nice.
We know that's a sport of endurance and high risk too. Lots of cheerleading injuries. My goodness. So you are a hero. No, wait, not a hero, a legend.
A legend.
Yeah,
now here's and I have a couple of other fun facts that will include Patrick and Roger. So I'll save those. I'll keep those up my sleeve while you introduce the others.
Okay, I'm coming back to you for the Roger fun fact right after this, because we're going to lift up Roger Montoya. He has ancestral roots that run deep in northern New Mexico, just like Leo. His father was born in Los Montoyas in Condado de San Miguel, where the county seat is Las Vegas, New Mexico, if you're trying to get your bearings on where is San Miguel County, and his mother in the mountain village of Peñasco, New Mexico, which if I have my counties right, that's going to be Condado de Taos, because all those Peñasqueros are also Taoseños. And
she was also born on the tribal community of Picuris.
Picuris
is
Pueblo.
Where she was actually born. Yeah.
The Picuris Pueblo. So as a child, he spent many summers and winter breaks at his grandparents' farm in Peñasco. He played in the mountains above Highway 76, which most people know as the high road to Taos. He's an artist who's worked in all different kind of mediums in his life. I found this out. He's a gymnast. He's a dancer, a painter, an actor, choreographer, producer, teacher, gardener, talker, listener, and just an amazing soul. He has the ability to think creatively and inspire others while he works collaboratively with discipline and commitment. With his informed community organizing capacity and his advocacy work on a daily basis. He began his career as a professional dancer in LA and in New York City. So coast to coast, this man has really lit up the stage. He returned to New Mexico in 1990, 31 years ago, and has had a career as a professional landscape painter. He also saw up close the devastating effects of the historic trauma and cyclical poverty in his region. He was at the forefront of the HIV and AIDS pandemic in New Mexico, where those of you that have known me a long time know that I did some of that work when I was a law student, when we had our AIDS information walk and we raised money to support that community in the late 90s. But Roger was ahead of his time in leading that discussion even in the early 90s in New Mexico. So we were so grateful for that. He began to address the gaps in health services for rural New Mexicans living with the life-threatening illnesses of HIV and AIDS. Eventually, he realized that he could have the greatest impact by bringing arts education to children and youth. I believe art is medicine, and he's seen it move children, but not just move children, but when you move children, you move community. And that's what Roger does. He moves community from a place of trauma to a place of trust. And how many times have we talked about that on Cafecito con Colon, where we take people from being victims to becoming survivors and then individuals who thrive in our community, you know,
awesome.
And whether they're that victim of gun violence that we've been talking about this past week in particular, as so many of us have been wearing orange, or whether it's talking about domestic violence, sexual abuse, all these things. And I think what I love about Roger the most is he has that ability to connect in a way that is very authentic and helps people move from that place of trauma to a place of trust. He works to address issues of homelessness, addiction, and making sure that people have food security and healthy meals. It's not just enough that we, even during the pandemic, when we delivered thousands of care packages around New Mexico, unfortunately, those were driven by costs. And very little thought went into our work. While we served a lot of people, particularly our Native American community, it was really about how many can we serve for how long? And we didn't really have the time to take a deep breath and think about, are we providing healthy care packages to these families? And I think Roger's so thoughtful when he talks about these issues of food security. It's about sustainability. It's about, can we also teach folks how to grow their own food? And how can they have a healthy lifestyle when it comes to what they consume? So when you talk about that work in some of our most vulnerable families in New Mexico, you got to make sure you have the Honorable Roger Montoya in the middle of the conversation, or your conversation's incomplete. Roger Montoya, the Honorable Representative, welcome to Cafecito con Colon.
Thank you for such a beautiful introduction. I'm very touched.
Tell us a fun fact that I didn't get to learn from Googling you.
Well, I think the most poignant fact about my life is, I tested positive for AIDS in 1986. And the decade from 1980 to 1990 was absolutely devastating. Personally, I lost 100 friends. I was at the pinnacle of professional dance in all over the world. And my brothers and some sisters were dying. And I returned to New Mexico to die, but I ended up finding a real passion to work on behalf of young people with a sense of urgency that we don't have time, we don't have a week, we don't have a month, we don't have a year, because I just really did not expect to reach the age of 40. I just turned 60 in February, so I count every single day as a blessing, and that there is that urgency to act. When you talk about policy and reflecting the voices of those that we are elected to represent, there's a burning fire in my heart to do as much as possible, as soon as possible. So I just wanted people to know that that's really the motivational driver in my life.
Thank you. And when you say you've got a burning desire in your heart, that's a big fire, because I know that heart is not commensurate and proportional to the size of your body. You have an outsized heart, and I am grateful for it. And I just want to say, I think I've read about your mom, but one of our Cafecito colleagues, my extrovert therapist, Catherine, she's been with me for 1 year and 3 months. She says that your mom was a great inspiration to her. And so I want to share that with you, Roger. And hopefully you'll all go back and look at these beautiful comments where everybody's lifting you up here. I want to say welcome to my Reina de Chimayo. Loida is with us this morning. And she's been a dear friend of mine on my political service journey for a long time. Win or loss, Loida has always been either encouraging me or yelling at me, one of the two, but she's always with me, one way or the other. She may not be happy with me, but she's always with me. And so my goal is always to try and keep her happy and with me. And so, Loida, thanks for all you do, and thanks for lifting me up all these years. So let me pivot. Thank you, Representative Montoya, for that, and thank you for sharing a little bit of your heart and that very personal part of your journey with us, and your connection to the HIV and AIDS, if I may, struggle, and which is, it seems to understate when you say that you lost 100 sisters and brothers during that time. To say it was a struggle seems understated, but I'm not sure I can think of a more appropriate word. But thank you for sharing that with us.
Well, like the latest pandemic of COVID, there are silver linings, and there's motivation, and there's energy that emerges from tragedy. And I think that's very much in my heart, that we have to turn a devastating negative into an absolutely aspirational opportunity.
I appreciate that. Beautiful. Well stated. Thank you. So Don Patricio, mi amigo, I think on this call, this trifecta, I've probably known Patrick the longest. We have the longest journey together, while the honorables have a special place in my heart. Patrick and I have the longest journey together. He's a community outreach specialist for economic development, working with regional businesses and economic development organizations in supporting what's so important. And we talk about it all the time, but Patrick actually has implemented some of this, and it's about having a diversified economy in New Mexico. And in particular, Patrick's heart is always north of I-40. He keeps northern New Mexico front and center in every conversation, because he's a native of northern New Mexico, a graduate of the other P-town up there, not Peñasco, but Pojoaque. Again, embracing our indigenous population. We talked a little bit about Picuris Pueblo, and then we got Pojoaque, more of our great and beautiful indigenous story and population. Patrick is from that area. He's a graduate of Pojoaque High School, and he spent the last decade on the staff of then Congressman Ben Ray Lujan, now our Senator Ben Ray Lujan, working with constituents throughout northern New Mexico and serving as a liaison for what? Economic development, higher education, and the national labs. And let me just say, the national labs knew a good thing when they saw it. And so they made sure they captured him. Prior to working for Congressman Lujan, he worked for ASU for over a decade on several topics and capacities, including being the program director for the Edson Student Entrepreneur Initiative, one of the first programs in the nation to offer experiential learning with comprehensive support and tools for college students to launch their own ventures. Patrick is currently a UNM graduate student pursuing an MBA, and that's that Master's in Business Administration. And we're so thrilled to be able to say, he is my friend, he's my colleague, and an incredible public servant. Patrick Duran, welcome to Cafecito con Colón.
Thank you, and I appreciate all the kind words. You know, I was fortunate to return to New Mexico from Arizona about 13 years ago. I think the time flies when you're having fun, right? But I was fortunate to return and work on the ground to serve our communities as an extension of the then congressman. And that's where I've met so many of you. That's where I met you, Brian, and built such amazing relationships with our community members and our leaders. I was a member of the Hispanic Heritage Committee, and you know, alongside Jennifer and many wonderful people. And I'm excited to see how that organization has grown and developed over the years. So that's super exciting. You know, I left to Arizona as a high school graduate to go to college. It was mentioned that I was a cheerleader there, and that was very exciting. But it was part of a larger journey, and that was about a young man who was questioning his sexuality and, you know, wanting to figure out who he was. You know, when I was a young man in northern New Mexico, another fun fact here is that the representative was my gymnastics instructor in high school. So very cool fun fact. But something else more important about that is he was one of probably the only gay men in the community that I could relate to, and was a role model for me. So it's that, I think for that reason, you know, it's very exciting to be here alongside him and the senator today, as well as you. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's a thrill to have you, and thanks for sharing that part of the story. And that was your fun fact that we didn't know about based on my Googling. So we got a bunch of performers here. Every one of them is a leader and a performer. And I think that still ties back to service, because when you're out there willing to perform and put yourself out there, you're inspiring community, because every form of presentation is an art form. And we know that art always enriches and lifts up. And so we appreciate that work. So let's start the conversation. We're right on schedule, at least where I was thinking we'd be, about half an hour of kind of opening remarks and introductions. And so we're right on schedule this morning. And I wanted to just, in honor of Pride Month, just kind of talk a little bit about, in a personal way, what does that kind of mean to you? Because I think for you, you live Pride 365 days a year. But this particular month, we actually shine a spotlight on some of the issues that are important to the community, for those who are stakeholders in the LGBTQIA plus community. You know, I went to the vigil last night, and there was a nice crowd, not as big as it was. I go every year, so I can tell you that a couple of years ago, it was probably twice as big as it was this year, but I think everybody's with some trepidation getting back into these public events, even the ones outdoors. But it was beautiful. I met a couple of new friends and saw a bunch of old friends that were there, and it was really special. And I think we got lots of great opportunities to honor and spotlight a section of our community that's sometimes on the margins. And so I'm hoping maybe you can share with me what that means to you in terms of Pride Month, and what does that look like for Patrick Duran. And we'll start with Patrick, and then we'll go to Roger, and then back to the good senator, Representative Montoya, and then Senator Jaramillo. And forgive me if I slip into first names, but let me just say this, as penance, you know that you can always just call me Brian. So we don't need to stand on formality, because we are friends here. So, I don't want my Cafecito colleagues to get, que bárbaro, look how disrespectful he is. He called him Roger and Rogelio and Leo the Lion. And all, these are very, very high level elected officials. But yes, you know I hold you in high esteem. And yes, I respect the offices and positions you hold. But in addition to that, we're also friends. And so that's where that comes from.
Somos familia.
Sí, somos familia. Patricio.
Yeah, so I always find Pride Month to be very, very emotional, and I I think about the journey. I think the journey that those before us took, and I think about my personal journey, and how it's evolved over the decades, truly, and how I've grown and developed relationships. And I think of like the story that Roger just shared with us. He was definitely at the forefront of the leaders who paved the path for our younger generations, and I've hoped that I could do the same. It is truly a sense of pride and emotion, and it's a very important time for us to reflect.
Beautiful, beautiful. It is emotional for many, and I think being able to share that vulnerability helps others feel more comfortable with some of their own emotions they're embracing, or trying to embrace. So with that, thank you, Patrick. Don Rogelio, con respeto.
Patrick, your words are really touching. Thank you. You took me back about 30 years, when you were a child and we were training. I was helping to train you, and it means a great deal. I think that pride is absolutely personal. I always tell my students that we have a fingerprint that's unique. And if you can actually embody that print, metaphorically and otherwise, and live your life authentically in service, in all the shades, of humanity, because life is not always roses. It's a tough lucha, if you will, to fight for your own life and then to serve on behalf of others. That if you can find that authentic identity, a sense of true belonging, and the passion and purpose that lives in your fingerprint and in your heart and in your DNA, you will exemplify pride. And that crosses beyond the LGBTQIA+ community. It just talks about human beings being at their highest potencial in servicio. And I think that my grandmother, my mother, my father as well, they all lived these lives that were so, they emerged from the Depression, World War II, the Korean War. My father was a veteran, and I think there was also this sense of desperation to bring forth the very best in each of us. So back to the pride moment, I'm absolutely proud to be the first openly gay man to serve in the House in our state. But I think the pride goes much further than that. And I want to urge every listener and every person in our state to find the pride. If you're, homeless, if you're addicted, if you're searching for a way to elevate, I've got your back, and we are a family. And that's what I see. Pride is much brighter than just the rainbow flag, much broader. I'll stop there.
I love that. I don't think any of us wanted you to stop, though. That's well said, well said. But I know we've got some beautiful words coming from Senator Leo, the legend.
Oh, thank you so much, my friend. So, gay pride to me is about being proud of who we are, even though in 2021, we still face discrimination. And so it's keeping our head held high and being who we were created to be and not letting that stop us. So last night, I got to meet with a nice young woman from Los Alamos Middle School, Kira Brown, who has been brave enough to teach her students or her whole peers about the LGBTQ plus community, to educate not only her peers, but teachers. And now she's taking it a step further to educate the community by doing some videos that will last in her earning a Girl Scout badge. So pride is about instilling that pride in the next generation, that they continue to build up the community from where we leave off. If you look back at the Stonewall riots of '69, when they were doing gay therapy to try to medically claim that it was some sort of sickness that could be cured, to where I was in high school, where it wasn't something you talked about, to where we see Kira now and her peers talking about it openly, because it's nothing to be ashamed about. It's something to be proud about. And there's celebration and diversity. And so that's what pride means to me, is that we continue to move forward and keep educating and instilling pride in who we are.
I love that. Instill pride and move forward, and being proud of who we are and comfortable in that space and place. And I think that it's incumbent upon all of us to try and create that space where people can feel comfortable, and feel like they can come out and be exactly who they were created to be. I have a men's group that meets every Thursday morning. My little dog here is, he's like 100-something years old, and he's really on his last days. And now he's getting so close. I'm afraid I'm going to run him over on my office chair here. But sorry to be distracted. What I was going to say, on Thursday mornings, when we meet at 6:30 on Thursday mornings every week, I've had this men's group for about 7, 8, 9 years now. And I always talk about us trying to become the best versions of ourselves we were created to be. Becoming the best versions of ourselves we were created to be. And you can only do that if one embraces their whole self. And I think that's partly what hopefully what Pride does, is give people an opportunity to feel comfortable embracing themselves in a way that is authentic, pure, and an opportunity to become the best versions of themselves that they were created to be. And that can only come from a place of honesty.
Agreed. I totally agree with you, my friend.
Yeah. So
Well said.
thank you. How will you honor Pride 2021, Representative?
I'm going to be part of the Santa Fe events. I believe it's on June 28th, 27th, Saturday. I believe there's a Pride parade for the first time in at least a year. So I'm gonna do that. But like the 4th of July, like New Year's Eve, I always take those days as very personal times to celebrate internally somehow. In my younger years, I was out there turning cartwheels on the street and wearing drag and being kind of a wild and crazy performer dancer. And at this current age, back to that sense of urgency, I want to use every minute, every week, every month to try to carve a pathway for our people to lift. And so I always turn it back to the earth and the focus of the work, because the parades are kind of over for me. I think I have limited time on the planet, a couple more decades and we're dust. And how can I make every minute count? So back to your question, I'm gonna celebrate on the street and a parade, but I'm at the work with the pala in the acequia, so to speak.
With the pala, so we got that shovel to clean out these acequia there. And for those
Exactamente.
of us that are monolingual, we try and keep everybody at the table and embracing that herencia we talk about all the time, and idiomas of the norte, and so that's a beautiful way to honor that herencia and the cultura, right? And making sure that you, being who you are, can bring that exact self and be comfortable still embracing the cultura, where maybe that historically hasn't always been a comfortable intersection. Is that fair?
Yep, absolutely. I've had times in my life, my teenage years, were horrific. I mean, I can't tell you the self-loathing, the attempted suicide, just the cutting. I was in a deep and desperate place early on, but over the decades, I found healing. And, to again point to the work ahead, the rural opportunity work that I push forward to create a task force to look at infrastructure to improve schools and healthcare and roads, that is at the core of my bandera, with the colored. I'm going to take that forward because that's for every citizen in New Mexico to lift, and to be an openly gay soldado. It indirectly, it diffuses that sense of non-belonging, and people cannot deny the contribution. And so then they are mirroring the same capacity to lift on behalf of humanity. That's kind of the focus that I want to put forth in this conversación.
That is beautiful. Thank you very, very much. Let's see, Leo, some thoughts about that? What does it look like, Pride 2021?
So yesterday evening, I celebrated with Los Alamos, who hosted a Pride, and so we shared a meal at the park. I'll also be in Santa Fe, but the biggest thing I want to do is that young woman, Kira, that I talked about, who's going to be a freshman. She asked me to serve as her mentor, and so these gray hairs are now my wisdom highlights, which means I can now be a mentor. And so, I really want to do that because what her project is she wants to leave a legacy with videos on how to educate Los Alamos and northern New Mexico about LGBTQ issues in the community and just basic information. So in being her mentor, I'm going to help her with her scripts in writing for these videos, in shooting the videos and getting them edited, and to make sure that we can leave this in a video library. And she and I have given each other a deadline of the end of the month, and that's how we're going to celebrate Pride, by leaving those videos behind and educating the community. And so not only will we be leaving videos behind, but we'll be building up Kira to continue to fight the good fight. So that's how I'm going to celebrate Pride. And I hope that I can share those videos with you in an upcoming cafecito so we can get those messages statewide.
I'd love that. I'd love that. You are always welcome. And when you post, make sure you post and tag. Post and tag. That's what I tell everybody. All the kids last night, I was like, post and tag. They went, can we get a picture? Yeah, the only price of the pictures, you got to post and tag. And so we had some fun with that last night.
So we're at the age where we used to call that the pound sign, right? Now it's the hashtag.
Right? Yeah, not the hashtag. The number button. Remember number,
Right.
the number button.
Well, wasn't even a number button with a rotary phone, Brian.
That's right. Gosh, those are the good old days. Hey, Andrew Montoya sends his best to you, Honorable Representative and Honorable Senator. That's one of my mero santeros. I have many retablos and a couple bultos here in the house, and one of my all-time favorite retablos. Of course, I got my Carrillo right here with Aleli's patron saint, but from her community in Barranca there in the Philippines. But one of the ones that sits most prominently in my home is one of Andrew's incredible depictions of San Rafael. And,
I love that guy. Andrew's an incredible individual and an amazing person inside and out. Him and his family hold a special place in my heart. So his bulto of Our Lady of Guadalupe is on my altar in my house. So every time I offer up prayers, I offer them up for Andrew and his family, an amazing artist and a good friend.
Well, I keep rolling my pennies, but I haven't found enough of them to get a bulto from Andrew, but I'm going to keep trying.
Let me know when you have your piggy bank out. I'll put some pennies in there to help you out.
There you go. Thank you. Yeah, Andrew is one of our incredible santeros that does amazing devotional art and has really taken his game to the next level. He's been a traditional juried Spanish colonial artist in the Spanish market, which of course I'm so thrilled we're going to do again this year. For those of you that know me well, know that I was president of the board for the Spanish Colonial Art Society that has the Museum of Spanish Colonial Art and the Spanish market. And Andrew is one of my all-time favorite. I have a lot of loved ones in that market, including my beloved Adan Carriaga, who we lost this last year. So we offer up prayers for him. But Andrew, I celebrate the fact that you have kind of pushed out the boundaries on the traditional Spanish colonial artwork that you have historically done, and now you're doing some really beautiful, cool stuff. I mean, you've always kind of pushed it, Andrew, don't get me wrong, but you're even doing more now. So Patrick, tell me more. I think I'm to you on Pride 2021. What does it look like for you?
Sure. You know what? I kind of chuckled to myself when the representatives talked about kind of aging and how that's changed over the years, because, you know, I agree. I probably would have been running in the streets and doing cartwheels and things like that, which I most certainly cannot do anymore. But like the representative, I plan on going to Santa Fe to celebrate as best we can, you know, openly, considering the conditions we're in still today with the pandemic. But this year, you know, I also look forward to getting together with a smaller group of friends from the community just to reconnect, really. You know, it's been a challenging year. We've all been isolated and we weren't able to do anything last year. So I would like to reconnect on a more personal level.
I think that's right. We're all kind of reconnecting. I think that's why last night was a very powerful evening for so many members of the LGBTQAI plus community. It was about.
And I'm sorry. Yeah. Right? I'm sorry I missed the senator last night at the picnic in Los Alamos. I wasn't able to make that. You know, with my new responsibilities as a student, I tend to be in the books a lot more than anything. So unfortunately, I missed the senator last night in Los Alamos.
Well, he's always out and about, so I know you'll get another opportunity. Don't you worry. But let's say this: I want to underscore. Representative Montoya had mentioned the Santa Fe Pride Drive, and it's not a parade. We're calling it a Pride Drive this year, and I think he gave a couple dates. I just want to underscore that is going to be on the 26th. that is Sabido Gigante, the 26th, there in Santa Fe. And that's scheduled for about noon on the 26th. So we'll have my Sabido Gigante, and I know that Christina and her family will get me my Jeep little ready up there so I can be part of that. But I'll finish Sabido Gigante and Cafecito con Colón, then I'll drive right up to Santa Fe, because on that morning we'll have Dr. Frank Mirabal join us to shed some light on his thoughts. Well, look, let's. I wonder. We're all leaders in our own right, and I mean, we are all. I mean, everyone that's tuned in, we're all leaders in different ways, in different parts of our community, in different spaces and sectors. But I wonder, when we talk about the concept of leadership and the, not to minimize it, but maybe the boxes we check, no? Like when I think about the boxes I check, quote unquote, you know, whether it's the fact that I'm the first in almost 100 years statewide elected official who is also Jewish, who went to Hebrew school as a child, right down the road at B'nai Israel under Rabbi Selnick. And people looking to me saying, well, you know, Brian's Jewish, but he's not Jewish enough. You know, he shows up for high holy days and that's about it. And not unusual for most Jews, by the way, or a lot of Jews in New Mexico in particular. But he's not this, or he's not that, or I guess the bottom line is sometimes I feel like some people look at me and go, well, he's not Jewish enough. The guy goes to mass every Sunday and facilitates a Roman Catholic men's group. Well, let me be clear. I'm like an ecumenical poster boy. That's me. Like I bring them all together. That's me. And so, but I think for me, that's a good example in my life of where I do feel like some people look at me and go, sin vergüenza, look, he's Jewish, but he runs a Roman Catholic men's group. He's not Jewish enough. It doesn't make me less Jewish. I was born Jewish. I am Jewish. And I think of the three of you gentlemen in your positions of leadership in the community, and a lot of people look to you, right? And so then as we celebrate and lift up Pride Month 2021, are these feelings that I'm having sometimes unique to me, or in the space of Pride and in the space of your community that looks to you? Does any of that resonate, or does some of that resonate? Or maybe this is just Brian Colon therapy hour. Tell me your does that ring true, or does that hit anyone? Just speak up, whoever would like to go. I don't want to put anybody on the spot.
You know, I think that so many people have ideas of what should be, right? So you're never going to be enough. So that's how come when you have pride in self, when you're true to yourself and you know you've given enough, that's all that matters. Is that what you're giving, and the 100% you give is what matters most. Because when people have ideas of what you should be or who you should be, it's never going to be enough, right? Because their ideas of who you are or who you should be might not be exactly who you are. So it's never going to be enough. And so I like to tell people when they ask me about being an openly gay senator, it's that I'm a senator first. I just also happen to be gay. And so I take a unique voice to the Senate, where I can talk about lived experience and I can talk about the community because I'm part of the community. But as leaders, I think all of us are leaders. And when we find that we're doing enough, and we're doing enough wholeheartedly, that's all that matters. Because I don't think that those voices on the outside and those looking in will ever think it's enough, just because they don't know our true story, where we've been, and they have this mold of where they think we should be. But that doesn't mean that's where we stay there. So as long as you're doing what you're doing, Brian, wholeheartedly, that's enough. And we love you for just who you are.
Beautifully stated, Senador. I can't really say it better, but back to that identity piece of the uniqueness of each of us, you know, whether you're Jewish or Catholic or green or pink, or it really no importa. What matters is the character and the quality of the work. And through demonstration, people are inspired and mobilized to be their best, most authentic selves. I was really shocked in this last session, you know, kind of odd to say, but the bipartisan nature of the necessity to be inclusive. I was a little scared. People said, oh, you know, the R's are not going to, you know, want to work with you, and don't go over there. And there was this posturing, and it did not feel correct in my heart. And so what I did is I walked into the minority office and I just introduced myself. I introduced the bill, which was a rural access to infrastructure, and it spoke the same language. And we found a really wonderful place to begin a dialogue that again emerged from an authentic place of who I am as a human. And I think to answer your question, if we can continue always to be open and ready for that fingerprint to make its place in the world will improve. That arc towards justice will actually happen, but it has to start here with each of us. And the expectations or the preocupaciones of who's thinking what, or what should I be, or what box should I live in, no importa. Just live and exude authentic work, and the world will become better through that action. That's my thought for the moment.
Thank you for sharing that, Representative. So I think what came to mind when the auditor asked the question was some recent conversations I've had about intersectionality and really embracing all of our identities. So, you know, I'm a gay man, I'm a Latino, I'm an uncle, I'm a son, you know, I'm a Northern New Mexican, I belong to a lab community. So there are very many identities that I embrace, and how all of them collide, you know, as an individual. So I think that's an important word that we might start to use a little more and talk about is our intersectionality. And yeah, thank you so much for having me today. I regret that I'm going to have to skip out here. I have another commitment this morning, and if you notice, I transitioned from one screen to another. So thank you for having me today, Mr. Auditor, and it's been an honor to be with the Senator and the Representative. Thank you and happy Pride.
Hey, Patrick,
Gracias,
let's get,
Patrick.
we all need to get together for lunch soon.
Most definitely. I look forward to it.
Good to
Thank
see
Absolutely.
you.
you. Happy
Be safe.
Pride,
Well.
Mr. Duran. Happy Pride, Mr. Duran. Have a beautiful
Thank
day.
you.
God bless.
Happy Pride. Goodbye.
Bueno, bye-bye.
And if you don't mind, I'd like to give a shout out to Dr. Jennifer Gomez Chavez. And so I'm going to tell you that as a kid who's first generation college graduate, it's because I'm a senator because of Dr. Gomez Chavez and so many other people who believed in me. And so a woman who invested so much of her time to ensure that I earned a degree, to make sure that I was passing those college classes. And so I've never forgotten that. And I know that she's watching today. And so when I stand on that Senate floor, when I am that staff operations manager at Los Alamos, by breaking that cycle of poverty and by earning that degree is in large part because of the love and trust that she put in me, and I will never forget that. And so I'm a proud senator because of women like Dr. Gomez Chavez who believed in me, and I think of her as family, and I know she's watching, and I couldn't let the day go by without acknowledging her and how much I absolutely love and appreciate her.
What a beautiful connection, Senator. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend.
Absolutely agree. And Dr. Gomez Chavez and I grew up together at the university, she in leadership, me as a student. And she is one of those incredible souls who allows people to see themselves in a way that they don't even see they have their potential before she pours into them. And so
Exactly.
I think that's her superpower. She and also Dr. Lawrence Roybal, the two of
Yes.
them are the dynamic duo that see our potential kind of down the road, where they've got that horizon further out than we can even possibly see for ourselves. Does that make sense?
Amen. Yes,
It does.
it does. Yes, it does. Hey, and a fun fact, Dr.
Yeah,
Jennifer
fun fact.
Gomez Chavez was on the UNM dance team. She was a chaparral.
Now there's
Wow.
a shocker. There's a shocker. Come on. That is a fun fact. You know why that's a shocker? Because is there any other ways that she could bring smile to people's faces? That woman is just a bucket of sunshine. Like she just is always making people smile.
Yeah.
I want to say, talk about another bucket of sunshine, a leader in your community. How about a big shout out to Fermin Cervantes? Fermin, Mero Mero Vaquero. It's good to see you this morning. I hope you're still tuned in. I see that you were with us a bit ago. And I also want to give a quick shout out to a young man who inspired me last night. His name is Juan Damian. And if you haven't met him, I'm going to make sure that changes, because he really, really inspired me. This is a young man who I think originally his family is from El Paso. Let's see, I think from El Paso, Mexico, that area, come up to here in New Mexico, but he served our country with distinction. He's younger than any of the three of us on this call or on this video. Young man, and I hope he doesn't mind me talking a little bit, but I'll just say his name's Juan Damian, and he served in our military. Gay Hispanic man, served with distinction in our military, had 3 IEDs blow up on him. He has lost an eye. He does not have symmetry in his face because he can't lift this side. He's had reconstruction on his face. And one of the most incredible young men I've ever met. And we spent about 10 minutes last night visiting, and he really just made me a better man by allowing him, by taking some time with me and telling his story and sharing with me. He really inspired me, and we're going to see each other again, and we're going to spend some time together. I'm going to lift him up. I think he is one of those great young men that I see that horizon a little further out than he does for himself. And part of that is going to be by connecting him up with people just like the two of you. So I just want to give a shout out to Juan Damian this morning and tell you I am going to follow up with you, and I'm going to surprise you, just like I surprised you when you sent me a text on how quickly I responded, which is always my goal. I will continue to pour into you because I believe in you, and you inspired me in a very special way last night. So
that's a great story. And Juan Damian, thank you for your service, and the Honorable Colon is an awesome mentor, and we'd love to meet him too. So bring him up north. We'll hang out with Representative Montoya and myself. We can take you to one of the best enchilada spots in town and show you the beauty of northern New Mexico.
Absolutely. What a beautiful story. Very, very deeply touching. Thank you for your service.
You bet. It's an honor. People that know me know that there's nothing I mean, my journey has been so enriched. Jonathan Muniz put it on my cup here, my favorite saying that I came up with so many years ago: your success in life will always be directly proportional to the success you help others achieve. But I can also tell you that not only have I enjoyed success because of pouring into others, but my life has been enriched deeply because people have allowed me to pour into them. And so he's just another young leader, just like all the other young women and young men who've allowed me to invest in them. And then, they're all superstars. I just put a little extra something on there and let them shine a little bit more. It's always a gift when they let me do that. Let me stop reflecting, and I don't know what's going on with me, but let me turn it back over to you. Let me just Honorable Representative Roger Montoya del Norte, what are your final thoughts as we round out the last couple minutes of our episode of Cafecito con Colon during this Pride Month, hosted by Enlace Collaborative here for New Mexico and the New Mexico Hispanic Heritage Committee, with our chair-elect Orlando and our current chairs, or our past chairs, Irma Ruiz and Dr. Jennifer Gomez Chavez. Thank you for hosting. Representative Montoya, take it away. I'll give you your final thoughts.
Most nights I go to bed with, and in the morning early, I wake up with this preocupación, the worry about the rural folks across our state, to harkening back to policy. Very soon, on July 1920, will be the first Rural Economic Opportunity Task Force, which will focus on infrastructure. And as I knew it was bad in northern New Mexico in terms of access, equity, urban versus rural, where I was left out. There isn't enough strong voices fighting. And so that's my focus for the summer and beyond, is to find a way to bring access to water, wastewater, electricity, internet, broadband as a foundational equity piece around those services, which are essential to raising the economy and improving health services. And the social determinants of health will be built literally on a scaffold of equity foundationally. And so that's my focus. I want, you also mentioned this notion of mentorship and the reciprocity, of teaching. Like, I've always worked with young kids and children and their families, and there's a fine line between who's teaching, right? There's so much to glean and learn from every level, from our elders, los ancianos, to the tiniest child. A reminder of what matters in humanity And so I hope, my prayer I'll leave you with is that this task force will lay the groundwork to spend at historic levels for rural and tribal communities across our state on infrastructure like we have not seen in 40 or 50 years. Why are our roads and bridges crumbling? Why do our schools not have internet access? Why do numerous lagoons in pueblos and townships lay unlined next to waterways? I mean, this is a tragic moment in public health. And I am devoting and focusing like a laser my love, my intellect, and my desire to mobilize community to make this happen. So look forward for good things on that end.
I love it. Thank you. Very powerful final words. I'm going to go down to the senator, but I want to give a quick shout out to Antonio Jose, who inspired me last night. If you follow my social media, you see that I posted his remarks both in English y Español. You know, you've got a special place in my heart, and last night you were very powerful in delivering those remarks that you wrote out. Very important words for us all to hear. So check out my social media feed if you want to see Armani's beautiful remarks last night. Antonio Jose, I call him Armani, yeah, I love you very much, Hito. Senator Jaramillo.
Perfect. So before I say anything, how cool is it that Roger and I represent the same district? We're both Norteños who live maybe 15 miles apart. And to be able to go into that state capital with one of your friends for the greater good of northern New Mexico is an amazing feeling and so nice, including our good friend, Representative Susan Herrera, who's not with us today, but to be able to try to do good work for the North with your friends is an amazing, amazing experience. But I'm going to continue to be a voice for human rights, ensuring that I defend the immigrant community, ensuring that I stand for the rights of every New Mexican, because I think human rights is the forefront of what we need to do as leaders to ensure that we have a safe environment for every New Mexican. I'm going to continue to work on issues related to seniors and ensuring that senior living is something that's not only going to be when we put it in one box of nursing homes, but that we start looking at these senior living campuses where we can have assisted living around a nursing home, and then working on issues that are important to communities. So my goal will be to continue to go out to communities and find out what their needs are, connect with them, and then find legislation that will best fit their needs and help them with their struggles. And so I'm excited about that. But before we leave, I'm going to ask you a question as an ally. So Brian, as an ally, what does pride mean to you?
Oh, pride is an opportunity to shine a positive spotlight on the journey of so many who came before all of us to make sure that people had an opportunity to be exactly who they were created to be, and for us to be able to love one another unequivocally, unconditionally, and allow people to feel welcome and included in all that we do, whether that's in leadership, whether that's engagement, whether that's just on a simple journey from here to there. We need to make sure that we are embracing all and making them feel included. And so for me, pride is a celebration of the work that's been done, and also an acknowledgement and look to the future about what we still have to do.
Amen.
When I was one of the
Beautiful.
first chairs in the nation to come out and say that you know, love is love, and same-sex marriage was going to be part of the values that we advocated for, there were plenty of people that sent me hate mail, and this was back when I was chair of the Democratic Party, and they said I would never live to fight another day in New Mexico's political landscape. Well, I'm here to say that 500,000 votes in New Mexico said that I'd make the best choice to be the state auditor. And all I want to say is I hope I've made you proud, New Mexico. I'll continue to serve you with all my heart. It's been 892 days of awesome.
Yeah.
I'll keep working hard to make you proud. New Mexico, I love you. Cafecito colleagues, my Cafecito crew, my extrovert therapist. I'm grateful for all of you, and I'm grateful for my guests today, like Don Patricio, who left, but also the Honorable Roger Montoya and the Honorable Leo Jaramillo. Gracias a todos por venir, y gracias a ustedes. Tengan un buen día.
Y ustedes también, gracias.
Nos
Hasta
vemos
pronto.
pronto.
Hasta pronto, sí. Adios. See you tomorrow. We'll be back with Marshall Martinez and EQ&M. Bye-bye.